Okay, we back. TFC Daily is the last of the daily series. We wanted to do this to keep you company during this lockdown. So good news is, lockdown is lifted, right? So we're gonna go back to phase 3. We're gonna go out again. So yay, good stuff. But yes, being the last entrepreneur,
Celebration to that.
yeah, celebrations today, guys. Cheers, cheers. Bring out your wine, bring out your tea, whatever you wanna bring out. Okay.
Water.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so this is the last one, and I'm super happy to have you on, and super happy to have Kevin on. And we're gonna go through a slightly different twist to things, right? We're gonna get a Singaporean that is doing something that what we would consider relatively common here, like very saturated in Singapore, but he take this whole thing into another country, and then he made it big, and he did it on his own, right? So we're gonna super happy to get Kevin on. So hi, Kevin, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So do you wanna kind of quickly run us through, what does Cake Collective does and all that jazz? Give us some context before we roll.
So the Cake Collective is actually spun off from my initial business in Singapore as a photography studio. So coming into Vietnam, it started out just photography, and now we are growing into a full-fledged production house.
Mad respect, by the way. Before I came into the content business, I always thought like just take photo only, right? Just take video, so simple. Until I'm in the content business, I'm like fuck this shit, man. It's like the amount of work people don't see. So yes, continue, please.
Yeah. So in my early days, bringing cake here, it was just me. Being here by myself, creating or rather building the network. Because when I first came here to Vietnam, I knew nobody. No one was on my radar. I literally it was from scratch. It was from zero. I had the opportunity to basically come to Vietnam, and because of one of my friends, he hired me to be an event photographer for him. And he's not based in Vietnam, so he knew no one to shoot for him. So when I first came to Vietnam, a little over 5 years ago, my mind was blown. Like the energy was good, the vibe was good. It felt young, youthful.
I know.
Yeah, so immediately I fell in love with the place. Like, because for a long time when I was in Singapore, it felt like
old, boring.
I hit a plateau. It didn't feel like I was going anywhere with my career at that point. So thankfully enough, I had that opportunity to come here, and I knew nothing about Vietnam.
Probably learned about composing flat lays. An S shape is one of the most common.
What is that?
Oh shit!
Some video someone had on some
Whoa. Okay.
Okay, but it happens with life. Happens with life. Yes. Okay, let me unmute you. We're back.
Okay,
We're back.
okay.
Yes.
We're back.
Thanks for quick fingers, Reggie.
Yes, great. We're good. But yeah, so I totally get the idea of like Vietnam being this extremely vibrant place. I've traveled there, and I think one phenomenon that I was seeing was how the local Vietnamese were like gathering at the parks, and then they were getting all these like expats, ang mohs, right, sitting down there together just at the park on the floor, and then they were sitting down there and practicing English. So I was that's amazing. There was no need for chair, none need for anything. This is one ang moh and then 10 like Vietnamese people just sitting down there, and then they were just all speaking English, and they were practicing and trying to like kind of master the language and all that jazz, right? So a lot of cute little stories of the kind of vibrancy and the kind of growth in Vietnam itself, whether or not you visited it, right? But I do think that as a tourist, that is one angle that I see. But when you try to set up shop there, got a lot of shit, right?
Yeah, you have to realize that at the end of the day, Vietnam right now, in this present moment, half of the population is under the age of 35. Yeah, you're talking about a very young population, post-war, obviously. People just going through the toughest times. Market liberalizing in the 90s, and that's why you see the fruition of it is coming right now. And there's still a long way to go on this trajectory. There's still a long way to go.
Yeah. So what was your journey like taking this thing over into Vietnam? Like, what were some of your shittiest moments, and how was that sorted?
I think initially it was massively the language barrier. Not a lot of locals speak English, and even if they do, it's not that good. And
Wait, clarity, you're in Ho Chi Minh, right?
Yes, Ho Chi Minh
Okay,
City,
Ho Chi
Saigon.
Minh. Okay, Saigon.
Yeah, Saigon. We call it Saigon as well.
I gotta put you in touch with some of my friends in Vietnam, Kevin.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, Vietnamese. Yeah.
Cool. So,
Great.
so they're kind of like the younger generation of Vietnamese. From my perspective, it boils down to two sorts. The ones that basically were born here, grew up here, and the ones that are born abroad or born here and moved abroad. So we call them Vietcues, Vietcues.
The guys that came back. The guys that came
Yeah,
back.
the guys that came back, like they had their. My wife's there. Yeah, my wife's actually. My wife grew up in Germany, so she speaks German.
Does she want to say hello? Say
No.
but okay, yes.
Had a makeup on. So.
Great. Continue. Yes.
Yeah. So the Vietcues coming back are the ones that bring back a whole lot of culture and knowledge, a lot of know-how back into the market. The ones that grew up here are the ones deeply embedded with their own perspectives as well. However, I always find that the younger generation that grew up here are as adventurous as the ones that return from abroad. They are willing to learn, depending on the industry. Very optimistic about the future.
But then, how was it like for you as a foreigner trying to enter the market in your early days? You know, like it's all interesting. I totally get like the Vietnam story. We can go on and on about why Vietnam is interesting.
Yeah.
But how did you get there? You know, and what were the challenges? You know, okay, maybe what were the challenges when you were first entering Vietnam?
Obviously, number one would be the language. Number two, I knew no one. The challenge was to really earn the trust, right, from the people that are here. Even if they are expats or foreigners owning companies, they've been around for a decade, 2 decades. You know, you have to earn their trust. You have to earn the respect. And to be super honest, it took me a year and a half, 2 years to really get to where I am. And even right now, I'm still climbing. You know, the third year was easier. The fourth year is when I started to reap some rewards. You know.
Can you give me a little bit more color? Like what does that mean? Like 1 year, 2 years, you know, and then what does rewards kind of mean? Yeah.
Okay, so the first year was literally nothing. It was literally hitting people up out of the blue. Will you have coffee with me? I'll buy you coffee. Second year, pretty much the same. The first couple of years, I was traveling a lot between Singapore and Vietnam because I still have clients in Singapore, so a lot of that. The first year was just really trying to get to know as many people as possible, and basically making friends. You know, because then you don't know them from Adam, right? So like They're not going to give you work. They're not going to give you any money. So it takes time to cultivate that trust, time to cultivate that relationship, friendship, you know. So it's only really late into the second year where it starts to solidify a little bit.
What was
You
the
have your
game
crew,
plan,
you have
Kevin?
your.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
but in terms of the specific industries that you decided to start with, right? Was it something that you were following what you would do in Singapore, or were you looking for gaps or trends within Vietnam that you say, this is where I should go because that's where nobody's doing it, or that's where I think I've had that full experience in Singapore, and therefore that's what I can offer in Vietnam?
Yeah, initially that was my plan, but you can only plan so much, and you know, like throw the plan out the window, and like I can plan as much as I want, but I think
So give me a little bit color. Like, what is the OG plan? What was the
so.
original
The plan was
plan?
to set up a portraiture, like a commercial studio, just shoot photos, right? Do commercial.
Okay.
photography.
So like commercial portrait of like
Yeah.
professionals and those kind of stuff.
100%. I did not come here to be a food photographer.
Okay.
And the
Okay.
And in the last maybe 3 years, I've 80% of my work it's around food, around F&B, around restaurants, around hotels. Yeah, 80%, maybe even 90%. So it's
So
a
that's
happy accident. So
so that pivot from the original plan was really an extension of the kind of network that you've grew, like you've grown while you were in Vietnam, right? So
yeah,
so I think for a lot of people in Singapore that they, you know, okay, Singaporeans travel a lot or they study abroad and all that stuff. And when you study abroad, actually there's a very structured way of making friends. You go to class, you join groups
yeah,
and all that stuff, right? It's very easy to make friends when you do that.
yeah.
But I think all three of us have lived abroad for work, for business, and kind of setting up our lives there. And it's extremely difficult to make friends, you know, and not the locals have very high defense, you know, when they connect with you, which is perfectly understandable. I mean, you're a foreigner and they don't know whether you're in for the long haul or you're just here to play, right? So how do you go about like actually growing a network from scratch?
Oh,
Like, just share with us like your stories and all that. Yeah.
So in the very first year, it was I lean in very heavily into Internations. Have you heard of that website?
No. Internations.
Yeah.
Okay, good resource. Internations.org. Okay.
Yeah. So there's this website, like it's kind of like BNI. You know BNI?
I know BNI, yes.
So it's kind of like that, but for networking, for casual networking, it's not structured at all. Each city has its own hosts who are volunteers. Everyone pays a fee to be on that website. So for the first year, it was using that platform to get to know people in the industries that I was interested in. So the first year was like no F&B. I was not expecting to do any F&B. I was not known for that. So yeah, so I was leaning heavily into nations, and I was also using a lot of different Facebook groups, the expat Facebook groups, expats in Saigon, expats in Vietnam, blah blah blah. Those various Facebook groups, I just put out a general message. Any photographers who want to meet up, blah blah blah. And there's Vietnam creative circles as well, where initially I just reach out to like-minded people in the same industry, and just really get to know people, and those who are willing to speak with me, they are still my friends right now. After 4 or 5 years, they're still my friends. So that's, it's just relationship building more than anything else.
Nice. So then how did you know that you should pivot? You know, because it's not easy for creative to say that, oh, this is my OG plan and I'm gonna drop this original plan, because there's a little bit of business, a little bit of self-expression. It's all kind of intertwined into that.
Yeah, I think at that point in time, I was like, in part, I was working for Saigonia as well, while doing my own thing on the side. Saigonia is a website, initially just English based. Typed it in right there. A lot of expats are on that website, or English speaking Vietnamese. They go there for editorial, like information, whether it's food, we call ham gems. So because of Saigonia, I started shooting a lot of food, whether street food, food in the hotels, just because I was doing that. So the pivot came naturally. You know, there was no, it was like street photography with food, and then it became more food, and then we did hospitality clients, and then it solidified itself. Especially in the fourth year, after I was not working with them anymore, I thought, yeah, food's fun. More often than not, you end up eating the food. Like,
But Kevin, just a question, right? You know, at which point did you decide that? I mean, we are all business owners here, and we always want to say that I want to put some eggs in this basket and some eggs in that basket, and not too many eggs in the same basket, right? So at some point, you probably had to decide, okay, I'm going to give up entirely my Singapore clientele, and I'm just going to be focusing on Vietnam. So what was that turning point, you know, for you to say, you know, I'm going to give up everything in Singapore. I'm just going to move to Vietnam and just make that my base. So which year did that actually happen?
I think it was, I want to say 2017. 2017. So
It was 3 years in. 2 years in.
yeah, like 2 years in, 2.5 years in. I think the biggest turning point was,
You met your wife to be.
yeah. There's that.
It's good part. Yes.
Yeah. And the other bit was like, in Singapore, it's such a small market, right? And there are so many competent photographers at my level, or even better, and the slice of pie gets thinner and thinner to a point where it makes no sense anymore. Like you're literally fighting for crumbs, you know. And the studios that do well in Singapore are the ones that for some reason it becomes like a personality cult, like the one principal photographer that basically the face of the company, the face of the studio, does super well, and then everything else in the company grows because of that one person. And I see that time and time again, and fighting for the same space, and that space is shrinking as well when you're talking about photographers who are based elsewhere in the region coming to Singapore because of various connections in the various ad agencies. Like they fly them in from Bangkok, fly them in from Indonesia, fly them in from Philippines, or even Taiwan. How are you gonna compete with that? Like you can't compete high end, you can't compete low end. Like low end, there's no money to be made, and in the middle is just shrinking. You know, the middle of the pie is just shrinking. So naturally, 2017 was like, okay, you know what? Unless they're willing to pay what I'm asking for, there's no reason for me to focus my efforts in Singapore anymore. And there are still clients that know that I'm in Vietnam. And a couple of instances, like even right now, I'm working on producing a shoot. I'm not gonna name names right now, NDA.
Yeah. I totally get that. Every client tells me the NDA, but every client knows
NDA.
every other client. So anyway, yes, it's okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Can't feel anything. So it's based off of my old connections in Singapore, you know, various old clients recommending like, oh, we need to do a shoot in Vietnam. Do you know anyone? Like, oh, hey. So it's kind of a good thing because like for them it'd be cheaper because I don't have to charge rates. Like I can have a 5 or 7 man crew on set, but you're not paying 5, 7 man crew as if you were in Singapore. It'd be half the price, almost half the price. Like, or even like 30% off is still savings for them. You know?
So is that
Yeah.
a trend? Are we seeing more companies doing that? Like like Singapore clients trying to like do their whole production abroad?
Yes, that's always been the trend ish. I tend to believe that in the last 5 years, that trend has been on the uptick. For a long while, Bangkok has been a hub for production. Say you name one of your top 5 ad agencies in Singapore. A lot of them use production houses based out of Thailand, based out of Malaysia, based out of Vietnam now. Because it makes sense. The cost of production is lower. And there is absolutely no compromise on the quality. The quality is still good. Or it's sometimes even better because like you don't have to cut corners, right?
You can pay the best dollar for the
Yeah.
local people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So then
everyone
I totally get that. So then I think another thing about, setting up shop in a foreign land, it's the social aspects, right? Because in the early days, you're socializing for business and all that jazz, but at some point in time, you got to I think everybody will realize that you got to set up a social network, right? You got to be there, you have to have friends, you have to decide where to stay and all that stuff. So how was that journey like for you? One love for the question, by the way, just say.
Um, I guess the social aspect, it's, you can't really force it. It has to come across organic. Like just meet people, just putting yourself out there. It helps them extrovert. So naturally, from day one until now, I probably met 1,000 people.
Wow,
200. Like I
that's
was
a
just
lot.
meeting people, like yeah, literally, especially the first couple of years, like every day, just meeting people or just hitting people up on Messenger. Just yeah, whoever's willing to talk to me, I'll talk to them. Just hanging out.
Shit, that's cool. But
Yeah.
at some point, do you feel lost, like in this whole process?
Um, I don't know. Well, if it comes down to the nitty gritty, if you're talking about needing to get some stuff done, unless you're friends with a local who could help you expedite, it can be a painful process.
Wait, what does
Uh,
expedite mean? What does expedite mean? Hey, Ava. I love how we have like cats and girls
yeah,
and
yeah,
all that coming in,
yeah,
right? So great. Friday night, yes.
yeah. Friday night.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's
what does expedite mean? Because I think everybody, I think a lot of people in Singapore has this like iffy understanding of like relationship and like
yeah.
working with the
So
authorities and all that, right? So give us some
yeah,
color there.
so you need a. I think, especially in the last, I would say 9 months, when I properly register my business in Vietnam, you need to have that one trustworthy fixer, essentially, that would run through the paperwork with you, find the most cost-effective solution to any of your problems. So you need that one local fixer that helps with that expedite process, to help you expedite anything, whether it's paperwork, buying some stuff for whatever you need, like for your work, like for us, like it's always like finding props, finding whatever, just small things. It's always the locals that would find the best deals. And however, I would have to say that the in Vietnam, it's so easy to get things. You can buy things online, get it delivered to essentially your doorstep. So there's that. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. And you said that you guys started like you properly registered in the past 9 months. Like
Yeah.
9 months ago, you properly registered. So what has it been like for everything before that?
Going through the Singapore business registration, or
Okay,
getting
okay,
or getting paid in cash, essentially.
okay. So you were using your Singapore entity to
Yeah,
bill your clients.
yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay,
yeah. So
okay.
that was the initial process because oh, this is going to be a whole different chat because to talk about setting up, like getting your business registered here. Um, if you run a small business, the cost might be prohibitive. So the one thing I realized about doing business here, especially in the last few years, in Singapore, everything is so easy. Everything is like online. You go onto your portal, it's like right there. You could set up a private limited in 1 hour with SingPass. And it's done, right? Vietnam, as a foreigner, there's quite a fair bit of paperwork. Whether you're going to set up as a foreign-owned company or you're going to set it up as a wholly Vietnamese company with Vietnamese partners, and that's where trust comes in, because if you're going to set it up as a Vietnamese company, as a Singaporean, you kind of have your name as an owner. You can be a legal representative, but on paper you do not own the company. So there's that bit of juggling, if you will. And if you want to set it up as a fully foreign-owned company, you need to put a certain amount of money in bond, like 20,000 US or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So
Like,
what was your like startup capital, and how much do you bring over to zero? Okay. Okay,
actually
okay,
that.
okay, fair, fair.
It's whatever I have. It's not so much in cash. It's more about the knowledge and the equipment bringing it
Mm.
here. But if you're
Yeah.
talking about cash, there's
Mm.
that. Obviously, it's going to be different for different industries. Like if you want to be a restaurant owner, you're a chef, you want to start up here. You're talking about rent. You're talking about kitchen equipment. You're talking about staff. You know, that's different. For me, I always believe in traveling light. So whatever I have here, it goes towards into the company. And then last few months, we've been doing fairly reasonably well. So there's
Mm.
reinvestment into the equipment that we use, getting better equipment, getting more staff on board, just building the collective, if you will. So down the line, for myself, I always find it imperative that you give more than you take. It's so easy to take, especially here in Vietnam. It's so easy to take, right? For me, for cake, I'm trying to create an ecosystem, starting from my company, to really elevate, to lift up the industry, because it's been It's been like taking away, and then you just want to make sure that the younger generation has more. Like they come away more than they enter into Cake Collective, right? So, for instance, one of my Vietnamese partners, a minor partner, 3+ years ago, he expressed interest in photography, and he literally knew next to nothing. And right now he's doing shoots by himself. He's been trained up to the point where he's self-sufficient. He can start leading a team by himself. By the end of the year, he's essentially a manager right now. So I want to have a team of locals running under him. Yeah.
Nice. So then from a personal standpoint, in the sense of like when you're going into business in Vietnam, right? Like when you talk about like building trust with the locals, when you talk about like the local business culture, what do I need to know if, let's say, I want to start a business in Vietnam?
Um,
Industry agnostic. I think it's really about like business culture and what do
hmm,
the people care about, like how to build trust, like what is considered trustworthy, and all that.
okay.
Yeah. Just share your
So
personal stories, yeah, just your personal experience and all that.
um, I think initially it was easier to work with other expats
Mm.
because the language was not a barrier to begin with. And culturally, I think I get Americans better, I get French better, or people from the UK better. Um, so there's that, and the getting into the really local market, that it's something that even right now is challenging for myself, because language remains as a barrier, right? Though I know more words now, it
Other than
helps.
Xin Chao, I know. Yes.
Yeah, rather than Xin Chao.
Xin Chao, always Xin Chao. Yeah,
Yeah,
everything is
yeah.
Xin Chao.
You need to know more than Xin Chao.
Yes.
Or enough to know that people are talking behind your back.
Mm.
So, anecdotally, I don't have anything bad to say, but there are stories out there that says that I've heard essentially like a foreigner comes in, starts a business, find it easier to start a business with a Vietnamese partner. Vietnamese partner shrewdly cuts him off, and foreigner gets left with nothing. So I've never seen that for myself. It's almost like
Fairy tale.
uh, a fairy tale, urban legend, but I guess somewhat because of that, I've taken precautions as well. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Kevin, can you, sorry, Reggie, help us understand comparatively? So 5 years ago, or more like 3 years ago, when you decided to uproot and make Vietnam the place for your business, how would you compare your peers, right? So your peers at that point and your peers right now, you were talking about the market shrinking and, it's too competitive. How are they doing now? Do you know? I mean, you don't have to mention names, but, just good to know, so everyone gets a good picture of you being in Vietnam actually is actually so much better than if you had stayed in Singapore.
I think my peers, the ones that are still in the game in
In
my
the game.
industry,
Indeed.
uh,
Yeah.
the ones who are still in the game, uh, they had they had to evolve, just to really adapt to the market, especially if you're talking about the mid tier. So I have other photographer friends who's never done videos before, having to pivot to do motion, right?
Right.
So there's that,
It's a
like
whole
they don't
different
think,
ball game. Just saying.
yeah, it's like they
Everyone
don't,
thinks it's like, oh, just take video, ma. I got video
yeah,
function. It's like,
yeah,
no, you
right.
gotta eat
Use
your
the
shit.
software to edit. It's free. No, it's a whole different ball game. Like you need to think about a storyline. You need to think about like doing a script, a shot list.
Casting
Editing.
calls. Yeah,
Yeah, so on and so forth.
all that jazz.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot. The ones that I'm aware of have pivoted into videography as well as holding true to photography. Like for myself, when I came to Vietnam, I did zero videos, but in the last couple of years, you know, food video is a thing, right? Food porn is a thing. Like restaurants want to demonstrate the freshness, the steam, the sexiness of food, right? You can go all day and describe food in a very obscene manner, but let's keep this PG. So yeah, I did not do any videos prior to coming in Vietnam, and last couple of years I've shot, edited, scripted more and more videos. Photography is still going to be the main thing, and that's why recently, late last year, when I properly registered the business, I brought in a video partner, a young chap from Belgium. We're working together right now, and he brings on a different perspective into the business. So hopefully down the line, I want to bring on other partners in different disciplines, or maybe a bit of an overlap. Other young upstarts or young creative people who are local, preferably local, and get them on board, because there's a reason why I call the Cake Collective a collective, because it's not just photography, it's not just videography. It can be design, it can be motion graphics, it can be something else, there's that leeway, the buffer zone for growing in different genres, and that's why we don't call ourselves cake photography, I want to keep that open-ended in that sense, so it doesn't limit ourselves, and having a name like that, it helps the psyche, like, okay, this is a collective, different disciplines, different perspectives. What can you bring to the table, essentially?
Interesting, but
Oh, oh,
Is he paused?
I think so.
Oh dear, Reggie. He's probably gonna pop back in again. Not sure what question he was gonna ask, but yeah, tell us more about what bigger plans you have for Cake Collective. You talked about ecosystem. You talked about bringing in production.
Yep.
Do you want to expand the collective into the other cities in Vietnam,
Yeah.
or near neighbor? How about even neighboring countries right now?
Yeah.
What are your plans?
am I back?
Yes,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
back.
yeah.
Okay, yes, I'm back. Yes, continue. Yes, please.
I
So,
was I
like,
was I was asking a question on his plans to expand the collective into the other cities in Vietnam, right? So please, Kevin.
yeah, so we do have, or at least I have an eye on Hanoi.
You should. Hanoi is amazing.
It is, but it's not the so-called financial commercial hub of
Mm.
Vietnam.
It's like government and all. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more administrative. It's a little bit more laid back. People
That's
take
why it's
take the,
amazing.
people take their bloody time to get shit done.
Yeah.
So yeah, Hanoi and Saigon couldn't be more different. Like it's literally tale of two cities, right? It's so
Mm.
different. So there's that. I do hope to be able to grow the collective regionally, where we get work coming. Like right now, I'm getting work coming in from Singapore, so that's good.
Mm.
Like, why not Malaysia? Why not Thailand? Why not Taiwan? Why not Japan? Open for those collaborations, open for those clients as well. But in order to get there, we need to be sizable.
Yeah.
Otherwise, like major multinationals may not take us seriously, I would say.
Mm.
But I think locally, we are the brand name is growing. So
Mm.
I have no qualms in the next 1 or 2 years to grow the collective at least nationally. Find other partners, like have two offices, one up in Hanoi, one Saigon.
Nice.
Nice.
Looking forward to that. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about like the F&B space? Like you're
Oh,
shooting in that space, and I know it's like vibrant, it's crazy, and a lot of people have this like cafe dream. Like Singaporeans got this cafe
yeah,
dream, right? I'm sure you know what
yeah.
I'm saying, right? Everyone thinks they want to start a cafe. For everyone that
Yeah.
still thinks they want to do it, how is Vietnam like as an option?
I think as Vietnam is growing into its own, a massively growing middle class, so more disposable income.
Mm.
Uh, the F&B scene is going to be based around a lot of that, from what I see. Like, and as people get more affluent, as good as Vietnamese food is, um, people are looking towards like
Enough of
more.
pho.
Yeah, enough of pho. Some of the best pho in Hanoi, not just Saigon.
Mm.
But yeah, so they are looking into more international cuisine, right?
Mm.
Whether it's French, whether it's German, whether it's Japanese, because there's a big Japanese population. Whether it's even Singaporean. Jumbo Seafood set up business here a couple of years ago.
How
Even
are they
Jumbo.
doing?
I haven't tried it yet. Like
I
I
wouldn't,
think.
man. I mean, when I was living in Shenzhen, and then I left the like the train station, and there was this promoter lady from Beijing Hyang, and then she was like, "Yeah, 不要尝, this is very nice." I was like, "Duh,
Yeah,
I know it's not nice
I
anyway."
know.
So I don't blame you for not going to Jumbo, but yes,
Yeah, yeah,
continue,
like,
continue.
yeah. Even Hai Di Lao is here in Vietnam.
Mm.
Came late 2019, I think. I forgot. I think 2019, and they're doing bloody well. As you know, Hai Di Lao has always that service quality, right? It's up there. It's one of the best, right? That's why as a franchise, it does so well. Hai Di Lao is here. They went from one restaurant to like 5 now, or 4 or 5 in the space of 1 year. Crazy queues, just like Singapore. By the way, Hai Di Lao in Vietnam is way cheaper than Singapore.
50%, 50%.
Essentially, yeah, you're paying like maybe 25 Sing.
Okay, let's do like some Saigon Hai Di Lao group trip thing.
Yeah, come.
Yeah. But anyway, for everyone that's listening, if you have any questions specific to Vietnam, specific to the creative industry in Vietnam, feel free to drop in the comment section, and Kevin could kind of give you whatever insights that he has, especially in the creative space. Yeah, yeah. Can you give me a little bit more color on the outsourcing elements of the creative space in Vietnam? Because I know a lot of people that essentially like yourself has a few set up shop in Vietnam to take jobs from Singapore, right? So yeah, kind of give us a little bit of dynamics in that space.
Um, Obviously, I'm not the only company that's run by a Singaporean.
Yeah, for sure. Yes.
As far as I know, I'm probably the only Singaporean that's doing this right now. If any other photographers and videographers listening on to this, you're welcome to join the collective.
Better bargaining power,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So yeah, in my particular sector, I think from what I know, from what I understand from other businesses and coming from my friends, like they get they still get a lot of work regionally, and they use Saigon or Hanoi as hub for production. So like even for us, myself, like um, people like Ogilvy uses production houses that exist here in Saigon. Um, so that's totally a thing. And if you think that Singapore is really expensive to set up shop, to set up like a physical studio, Saigon would essentially be half the cost, almost half the cost.
But the
Like,
revenue that you generate would also be half the cost, right? Or half the revenue, because even though the pricing might be fairly inelastic,
I wouldn't say the billables, your invoicing would be half. Depending on obviously the makeup of the clients that you're servicing. If it's international clients, you you'll be getting a good shake. Like you'll be getting a fair share. Because those agencies or those clients recognize good work, and if they hire an expat to get that work done, regardless where you are, that's the price, right?
I know
right,
what you
right.
mean. Yeah. Yes.
Mm.
Yeah, it's
Very
not gonna be like,
common.
oh, because I'm in Vietnam, I'm gonna give you 75% off.
Mm,
That's not
mm.
gonna happen.
Yeah,
So
especially common in creative work and tech work. A lot of these kind of work that is very
yeah,
final product output driven.
yeah.
I think the pricing power is still there if you have very good products. So yeah,
I
interesting.
Yeah, it's also something that we are continually working on, the way we communicate with clients, and we prize ourselves to communicate effectively, efficiently, to get to deliver what our clients want at standard and beyond. So the QC is going to be tight, the quality assurance is going to be tight, so that just because they're paying maybe 20-30% lesser in Vietnam doesn't mean they're going to get a discount on quality, right? If anything, it should be higher, right? So that's the kind of thing that I'm aiming for when we're talking about getting work from overseas.
Mm. What is some of the worst client experience, like the shittiest one that you have so far? Always got a lot one. That's why I just give me the best. Give me the worst one. The one that made you feel like, maybe I want to quit this.
Oh my god! I hope they're not listening on it.
Yeah.
Oh my
Yeah, no
god.
name drop, but yes. Just share your experience.
Um, I think one. Wow, you put me on the spot here. Let me think.
Yeah, that's the whole premise of the show, bro. I've waited 15 minutes to put you on the spot.
Wait, let me think. In essence, right, like one of the
Don't give me
worst.
essence. I give me longer story. Tell me more. Give me
Oh,
detail.
oh wow. But I think in recent memory, um, one of my clients made us wait like literally half a day before we even did our portion of the shoot. So we were doing in tandem with a film crew. They were doing a TVC on the side, and we were doing what we call key visuals. So that was bad. It was over 4 days. Shouldn't give too much detail just in case so a lot of waiting around. Good thing is they did not bat an eyelid. You made us wait. We're not gonna give you a discount just because we are doing nothing and waiting. So there's that. I wouldn't say that's the worst. It's just the waiting is like having a lot of patience, right? There's one other client that did not pay me, and it's been a year and a half.
Isn't it pretty common in creative work?
Yeah, you because everything is done on a goodwill basis.
No, for me, I charge. Client, you want me, you pay first. Right?
Yeah,
you want me to get my brains going, right? You pay first. By the way, shout out to all my clients and sponsors. Thanks for supporting this practice. At the Financial Coconut, you
down
pay
payment
first.
50%.
We charge the whole thing.
Oh, the
You
whole
pay-
thing. Oh,
yes,
wow.
you give me the whole thing first. We get down the work done. Okay, but of course we got QC quality control. Output is there. But
Gotta
yes,
learn
yes,
from
yes.
you, Reggie. Right.
Yeah, that's not happening.
Exactly that is the problem with creative work, right? Of course, I think for bigger budget production, usually there's like 2 payment, 3 payments.
Yeah, at
for
least the
smaller
50%.
ones, yes, for smaller ones you can take the whole thing from the front. I don't think I need to kind of break down a low 5-digit kind of project, but if it's like somewhere 6-digit, then yeah, there are usually multiple payments. Tell us more. Tell us more your experience chasing payments in Vietnam and all that jazz.
Fortunately for myself, 99% of the time I don't work with assholes. Let's just put it that way.
I thought we were keeping this PG, but anyway, yes.
Oh, a-holes.
Okay, yeah.
Payment is generally really prompt. And right now I do have someone helping me to chase payments because I hate making the call. So it's easier right now.
How do you then decide? Yeah, go ahead.
By the way, you need to make your thing go public. It's
Wait,
like
what?
friends only. It's friends only.
Really? Oh, really? Really? Friends only?
Yeah.
Okay, let me look at that. But yeah, go ahead. Keep it going.
Where was I? Oh yeah. By and large, I don't have to really chase payments. So the instances that I do, it's probably just 1 week late. That's fine. The instances that I don't, it gets a bit sticky sometimes.
Okay. Anyway, Alex, you take over. I'm looking at tech. I can't multitask here.
Tell us a bit about, Kevin, the entire setup with family, and also is your wife also in the business? Just wanna not to put you on the spot. Yeah.
No, Well, technically not, because she works for a German ministry
Right.
because of her awesome linguistic abilities. Um,
Shout out to your wife.
yeah,
Shout out to wife, right? Yeah. And actually, I mean, I think you probably had it a little bit better because you have someone in family, which is your wife, that speaks the language, to put you in touch with whatever connections that she's had as well, right? So to a certain extent, you sort of had that advantage or that inroad into your current network, right?
yeah. Yeah, well, the good thing is a large part of our networks do not overlap, so I get to meet a whole lot of different people in her sector.
Mm.
Uh, because in her sector, she connects. One of her jobs is to connect vineyards in Germany with local importers, distributors,
That's
drink
so
a lot of
cool.
wine.
Oh, nice,
That is
nice.
so cool. That is so cool. Okay.
Yeah,
You gotta taste and test first before you do the
oh,
connection and bring them in.
a lot of tasting, a lot of testing.
Recently, there's been a little bit of a saga about influencers, about food influencers in Singapore.
Yeah, I know. I
Yeah,
shared
yeah.
that. I shared that yesterday.
Yes, yes, yes.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, it's kind of ridiculous in that sense, influences and whatnot. But that's a different
And a story
story.
for another day. Wait,
Yeah,
okay.
like here in Vietnam, there are influencers, and there is that influencer market as well. But I don't think it's as ridiculous as what's going on in Singapore. Singapore is just like,
There's nothing to
oh,
cover already, bro. Like I'm like content here is dry. How many more influencer do I need?
yeah,
You know.
I have 5,000 followers. I'm
Uh,
influencer.
okay, let's
Oh
not
yeah,
go down this path here today. But yeah, I think the COVID video that was shot in Vietnam, that was amazing. That campaign with the
yeah.
dance and all that was amazing for everybody that has not seen that whole COVID campaign fully done in Vietnamese. That was amazing. But yeah, yeah. Can you kind of give me a little bit more color? Give us a little bit more color about how do you decide who to work with then? Because you said like 99% of your clients they pay on time. They're quote unquote the best clients, right? No a hole. So
Yeah.
how do you decide who to work with, especially when you're not like local there? So yeah.
Um. Who do I decide to work with? Like, I do have a plan to go deeper into hospitality. Like,
No, is it more like how do you decide that this is a client that you're cool to work with? Not sector specific, but like like why okay, I'm okay. Like this project, yeah, let's say I have a project and I want to outsource the whole thing to you. How do you validate that I'm a good client to work with?
um, they pay what I'm asking for. That's a very good, very good yardstick. Like,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, cake is not priced like on the super high end. It's like we try to be the upper middle, if that makes sense. So
Does not make
uh,
sense, but yeah.
yeah, it's like we price really small businesses out. Unless
Mm,
it's like sending in the junior team to cover something for on the cheap, we can do that. That's been done in the past year, um, but by and large, the pricing sets the tone. You want that, like, what are you gonna be happy with at the end of the day?
mm.
What's the amount that you want to make, um, when it's all said and done? Like,
Mm.
what are you comfortable with? What's the number that you're comfortable with? If you're not comfortable, they are not comfortable. Yeah, that's that's
Fair.
that's it, right? There's no discussion there. Then I've had instances where immediately the client says yes to the price. Within 48 hours, we sign a service agreement, a contract, done. So there are clients who are on either end of the spectrum. The ones that don't bat an eyelid at whatever figure that you throw to them. Then you think to yourself, did I price myself too low?
I know,
they
I know
didn't say
that
anything
feeling.
clear. Like come in for a meeting and
Mm.
you go into the meeting getting prepared to defend your position on pricing. Then it's like, oh, yeah, here's the contract. Like, yeah, let's sign on it. Like, what? Oh, you're not gonna bargain? Okay.
Yeah,
No.
is that did I take too little from the budget? But yes,
Like,
yes.
that's too low. And
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking about we're not talking about small companies. We're talking about medium-sized enterprises. Like they
Mm.
can. I'm just guesstimating half the time. Like, what's their marketing budget? Because if you're gonna ask the marketing department,
They
what's their
always give you a
budget?
conservative budget.
Yeah, they give you a shitty number, and then immediately like, oh,
Mm-mm.
okay,
I've been asking other people in the space, like other
right?
people that the clients have used, because we're in financial content, right? So there's
Yeah.
only that few people that they use. So all of them are friends. I know all their pricing. So it gives me a much better idea when I talk to all these, clients and all that jazz, right? So that helps. Oh, cat. Shout out to cat. But yeah, I think we're top of the hour. Thanks for sharing a lot of good stuff. But I think let's wrap up with the last question of, if people want to
Yeah.
enter Vietnam, like Singaporeans, they want to enter Vietnam into the business. Aside from all that you've shared, like what are some like base things that you have, or base ideas, or base mindsets that they should have when exploring starting a venture in Vietnam?
Um.
Singaporeans to Vietnam are very specific because Singaporeans have their own school of thought, right? And then
Yeah.
how do we go into Vietnam? Yes.
I think it's like, generally speaking, you have to keep a very open mind and really not be caught up in your old ways, the ways of doing business in Singapore. It's not transplantable. It's not like, oh, this is how we've always done it in Singapore, and this is how we're going to do it from now on in Vietnam. No, it's not. It's
What are
not
the
gonna.
old ways that you think needs to change?
Contracts matter here, but not as much as Singapore.
Mm.
And it's not always that you're gonna get a down payment. So you have to be flexible. Flexibility, adaptability is first and foremost, I think. Vietnam, especially in Saigon, everyone's hustling. And why I was attracted to Vietnam in the first place is because of the hustle. It's so fast paced. And at the same time, strangely, there are things that are done very slowly. So you have to break out of the Singaporean mindset of how things are done. That's I've seen businesses wrap up and gone back home. Whether it's in F&B or whatnot. So for myself, being a Singaporean, in my first few years, I did not reach out to other Singaporeans. That's the last thing I wanted to do. Because their experience, that's the easy road, like getting other Singaporeans to introduce you to other Singaporeans. That's essentially putting yourself into a bubble. So coming to Vietnam, especially for myself, it's very important to break away from that.
Mm.
And just meeting people from other nationalities, meeting the locals, meeting like-minded people, or even different-minded people, just to test out the waters and see where it will go. Because you may plan to set up one sort of business here, you come here and you realize, hey, this other business might work even better. There's no hard and fast rule. So you need to be like what Bruce Lee would say.
I already saw that in my head when you say you need to be like I know that's Bruce Lee.
Be water, my
Be
friend.
like water. Yes, be
Yeah.
like water. Anyway,
Yeah, my
thanks,
last name
Mohammed.
is Lee, so it's like
Okay.
teapot.
Uh,
And water go into a teapot, it becomes the teapot.
yeah.
So you need to
Okay.
adapt. Yeah.
Good stuff. Thank you for joining us. And I think, with a lot of good juices, we can definitely like create a lot of like snippets out of this thing. So good stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you. This is our
you for
last, this is our last live session with everyone. And if you like any of our segments, cheers to that. If you like any of our segments, you gotta comment us, DM us, let us know, because we are reviewing whether to continue doing live segments as we go along, right? So all that good jazz, all driven by the community. If you want to support the community, head to financialcoconut.com, sign up for a member for early releases, financial content and all that good jazz, right? Or you can just join our Telegram group. And shout out to our Entrepreneurship Show series, which we ended this week. Yay! We finished season 1. Yeah, so it's great. Alex was on the show. I think there are a lot of good stuff to share. So head over to our YouTube channel to catch up on Entrepreneurship Show, right? Take care, guys. Have a good weekend.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you guys.